In this video, we're going to learn about hand tracking in visionOS, and we'll do that by building the simple little fun app where we track a user's hand and place a cube on the user's hand. So let's build this project and learn hand tracking in visionOS along the way. So here I'm creating a new Xcode project, and make sure you select the visionOS option, click on app and select next and name it whatever you want. Make sure the initial scene is window, click next, and you can save it wherever you want. Click create. And here we got a starting template that comes with the project. What we have is a window showing a sphere and a text below. So I'm just going to get rid of all of that because we don't need that. I'm going to return an empty view here for now. And the reason why I got rid of the preview canvas is because here we're doing ARKit based hand tracking. Any kind of ARKit based tracking, it won't work in the simulator or the preview. You need an actual device. So there's no point in using it. Hence why. Great. So first, what I'm going to do is programmatically create a 3D model of a sphere, so that we'll have something to place on our hands, right, when it's tracked. So here I'm going to create a new computed property, call it sphere, of type model entity. Again, everything in reality case is an entity. So whenever you have a 3D model in your scene, the 3D model would be a model entity. We need to first define the mesh for this model. Mesh resource, generate for sphere. And let's give it a radius of 0.05. And then we need a material for the mesh. I'm going to use a simple material, give it a color of say blue, and is metallic set to false. And we can create the model entity with the mesh and a material. So the mesh would be the mesh that we just created, and the material, again, the one that we just created. Now once we have the entity, we're simply going to return the entity. Great, so this essentially is a computed property, which when called returns to us blue 3D sphere. Great, so I'm going to collapse that, Command Shift and left arrow. And now I'm going to come back to the body of this view. What we want is a Swift UI view that can display 3D content and 3D scenes, right? And in the Swift UI view that we use for that is called the reality view. This is the make closure, the closure that gets called when the reality view is first shown. And that comes with this content guy here. And the content essentially contains all the entities in your scene. So in our case, there's nothing in the scene at the moment. So what we can do is content.add the sphere for now. And this would actually just display the sphere in the scene, but that's not actually what we want. What we want is to display the sphere in the user's hands, right? For that, we need to essentially track the user's hand. So we're going to make use of a different kind of entity called anchor entities. Anchor entities are anchors or locks that ARKit places in the user's surroundings where you want to lock a 3D object to. So anytime you want to lock an object or place an object in the user's surroundings, you need to use an anchor entity. You do this by simply creating an anchor entity in that position and then simply adding the object you want to place there as a child of that anchor. So in this case, that specific point in the user's world where we want to place a lock or an anchor is the user's hand, right? So first, what we need is an anchor entity for hands. And then what we'll do is we'll simply add the sphere as a child of the anchor entity. That way the sphere will stay attached to the user's hand. And then we can simply add the anchor entity to the scene over here. Create an anchor entity, and you can create it with a target. And for the target, if you click dot, you'll see the various options, right? You got the hand, that's what we'll use here. But you also got other kinds of anchors, the head, an image, a plane, a reference image, if you want to do image tracking, or an object. Great, so there's many different options we have. But in our case, simply choose the hand option. And here, for the chirality, we can essentially define which hand we want. So let's just say we want to track only the left hand. And for the location, where in the hand we want to place the anchor, you again have a different options, but I'm just going to choose palm for now. Great. So this essentially what it does is when the reality view is first displayed, ARKit under the hood looks for your hands, and if it detects your hands, it will place an anchor entity onto your palm. And that anchor entity will essentially stay fixed in your palm as the user moves around or whatever happens in the scene. So here essentially we got a lock on the user's hand. And next what we can do is simply add the sphere as a child of the anchor. Anchor.addChild, add the sphere there. That way the sphere will be placed in the user's palm and it will stay locked there. And finally, we can simply add the anchor to the scene. Content.add the anchor that we just have. Great, so simple. Define an anchor entity for your hands, more specifically your palm, and the child should be the sphere. And then add the anchor along with the sphere, which is a child of the anchor, to the scene. Simple as that. That's all you need. Now, before you run this, you need to do also one thing, Any kind of ARKit based tracking requires you to run in a mixed immersive space. By default, visionOS apps run in the shared space in the form of volumes or windows. Shared space means your app can coexist with other apps. But when it comes to ARKit based hand tracking, you need to run in a mixed immersive space where your app does not share any space with other apps. So for that, you can go to the starting point of the app here, named after your project name and mark with this main guy here. This is the entry point of the app. And here again, you can see we're saying, hey, when the app first starts, we're showing a window, and in the window, we'll display the content view that we just designed earlier. But that's not what we want. Instead of a window, what we want to do is show an immersive space. So we're going to do an immersive space, and here we're going to display the content view like before. And for the immersion style, I'm going to create a new state variable, state var immersion style, and this would be of type immersion style. And we're going to make it a mixed immersion style. And then for the selection, we're going to bind it to this immersion style state variable. So $.immersion style. And then the options would be mixed, full, and progressive. We are showing the content view in an immersive space. And for the immersion style, we made sure it's set to mixed, right? This is the immersion style selection that we bind here. And the mixed style essentially allows the pass-through to go through, which ARKit needs, obviously, to detect the user's surroundings, right? So what ARKit essentially does behind the hood is it would use the pass-through data, the camera feed of the user's surroundings, and it will run some complex computer vision algorithms to detect various features of the user's world. And in our case, the feature that ARKit will detect for us is the user's hand. Because we are showing an immersive space when the app first starts, we need to change one more thing. Go to the info P list. And inside the scene manifest, you can see the preferred default scene session role is currently set to a window. This is telling visionOS, our app, when it first starts, it will show a window. But that's not our case. So you need to change this from a window to an immersive space application session role. This will tell visionOS, hey, when the app first starts, we should show an immersive space. Now, before we build this onto the device and try the app out, let's just polish things a bit more. So firstly, instead of a sphere, let's actually generate a cube, because a cube looks better, almost like a boxing glove in your hands, right? So to do that, it's just a matter of changing the mesh, right? Instead of generating a sphere here, we can generate a box. Say generate box, make the size of the box, say 0.2, and leave the rest as it is. Right click, refactor, and then rename. You can rename this to say box. That will rename all the instances correctly. So awesome. So now we replace the sphere with a box, which might look more like a boxing glove, which will be more fun. You can add this modifier called upper limb visibility and then set this to hidden. This essentially hides your hand skeleton so that it's just the box over your hand. And now if you click build and run, you should see it all work fine. So let's try that on. So now you can see the hand tracking at work. It's placing the cube on our palm. And because the cube is so big, it just looks like it's tracking over the whole hand. Awesome. So I'll see you soon.